Major Marion deGraaff from the Royal Netherlands Air Force, the Center of Men in Aviation, is going to talk to you about research and training on Desdemona Simulator with a focus on spatial disorientation. And she's wondering if your country, so read my country, provides our aircrew with sufficient spatial disorientation training. And we're very curious if you think that your country does that. All right, let's see what the chart says. 62% says false. Well, okay, there's your job.
Okay, generals, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, disorientation training, Dutch approach. Next slide, please. Okay, what we see in all the countries, I think here also, is that actual flight hours are reduced. And that offers our country a big problem. And we as a Center for Men in Aviation in Soesterberg are responsible for disorientation training for all our aircrew. So in this presentation I want to show you and I want to tell you how we try to solve this problem. Okay, next slide please. What we're doing now in our country for the current SD training is we train our pilots before they have their first flight, because of course it's reasonable to tell them what they're going to face if they're going to fly. After that we bring those student pilots back when they have about 20 hours of flight experience in a fixed-wing aircraft, a PC-7. We bring them back to our institute to give them a more advanced training and to make them sure that they realize what they have seen and what they have faced in their flights. And after that we make a big step. So we developed training for graduated pilots, type specific, and we give them the training between 300 and 500 flying hours, type specific. And of course we pay attention to this topic in the refresher physiology course we give on our institute. Next slide please. Okay, for the student pilots before the first flight, we give them some theoretical training, 1.5 hours in classroom. And we have practical training on the on this simulator, EFSC11. Okay, we bring the pilots half an hour for training and let the other pilots observe half an hour. Because, and I must explain that one of the stupid things I'm always telling everyone, we do training, but of course we want to make the pilot better in this situation. Okay, we just give them awareness about what's happening in the body. I don't make them better, and that's a very important thing to understand. Also for the students, it's very strange to have that experience that they are failing actually. Because first you select the best guys you can get, and also female pilots we select the best you can get. Yes, and then you tell them, well, you're great but not perfect for flying. Okay, and you're really failing in flying. And a very important thing for them to see is that they are the same as their colleague pilots. Even if I put an experienced pilot in this situation and he has 10,000 flying hours, he will make mistakes because his vestibular system is working the same as yours and mine. Okay, so it's very interesting for student pilots that they are convinced that they are not the only stupid guys in the air, but everyone has the same behavior. Okay, next slide please. And then after the 20 hours, the student pilots come back to our institute. And then we give them a more advanced training of spatial disorientation. Yes, we give them again the theoretical course because we want to make sure that they do understand the underlying mechanism. Yes, and then we go in the Desdemona Simulator. I'll show you later on what it is. And then we give them about 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour flying time just to realize again what's happening inside the body and that they do understand the underlying mechanism and that they do understand if they rely on that feeling, if they believe what they're feeling, they're going to end dead in the ground, and that's for sure. Okay, and very important in this training is also that we have a debrief, and we don't put pilot instructors in that debrief. So the students are really free to speak about what they experienced during their first 20 hours of flight, and it's amazing to hear their stories because very often they are very scared in flight. Next slide please. Okay, you can click on one of the clips. Yes, you can start them. This is an example of what Desdemona is doing. It has a centrifuge ability. Yes, you can show another one. I think it's not moving. Okay, skip these. You can skip these. For example, Desdemona is a very specific type of simulator. It has a centrifuge capability, it has a rotation capability for all the axes are possible. Yes, it has a heave of 2 meters. Yes, it has an arm of 8 meters. So we can demonstrate almost, come close to real flight, we can demonstrate a lot of stuff on this simulator. Okay, next one please. Okay, very important if you have a normal hexapod simulator. Yes, if you have for acceleration, you have the false pitch-up sensation. And the false pitch-up sensation is created by tilting the cabin. So you're really fooling the guys. And that's also possible to do with Desdemona training. We can do the same stuff, but we have also the ability to rotate and centrifuge the Desdemona simulator. So the people really get the acceleration false pitch-up sensation. So it's coming closer, and really I mean closer to a real aircraft, but it never is the same as a real aircraft, that's for sure. Okay, next slide please. What you see here is that we use the centrifuge, yes, to create the pitch sensation, and I think it stops. Okay, so, well, there's no sound with it, but this is what we do with the pilots who have the 20-hour experience, and then they really have one indication of the pitch sensation, and they really have a false pitch-up sensation. Okay, you can stop this one and go to the next slide, please. Okay, what we do here is that here we do the conventional takeoff with the tilting of the cabin, but we're bringing the guy back on his, laying on his back, and then we're going to give a demonstration about false sensations in flight. He's going for a takeoff, acceleration. You can see the tilting of the cabin. Okay. Okay, then we put in a lead aircraft and we ask him to follow the lead aircraft. Just make the same movements as the lead aircraft, so maintain the same wing position. Then we're going to deteriorate the weather, so the lead aircraft is going to disappear, and we're going to ask him to bring back his aircraft to wings neutral. So it's disappearing. A sub-threshold turn he doesn't realize. We want him to concentrate on his feeling, to make sure that he realizes that he can't rely on that feeling. Okay, what is wings level? And then we give him vision. And he thought he was wings level. So this would have killed the guy if he was relying on his feeling. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so the next step is the graduated pilot, 300 to 500 hours, type specific. You can click on it, you have some pictures in it. Fast jet, you can click on the presentation. Yes, fast jet, helicopter, next, click, and transport. Okay, next slide please. Okay, this is the inside of the Desdemona Simulator. It's very generic. It's now a little bit different, but we only put in stuff we need for the flight training or we need for the disorientation demonstration. Why? We won't have a type-specific simulator because there's so big chance for negative transfer. Okay, so we want to keep it very generic just to make sure that we have only the essentials. There will not be any negative transfer. Next slide, please. Okay, there's a small clip here. You can see a little bit more about the Desdemona. Can you start it? It makes a bit more illustrative what you can do with the Desdemona. Okay, back to the presentation, please. Okay, for the F-16 deep stall, well, I think many people know what it does mean. You're losing, because of the angle of attack with the wing, you're losing the lift and the aircraft is falling out of the air. Next slide, please. What do you need? And that's a research we had to do on the simulator. You need an accurate flight model. Okay, we developed with Pearl, we developed an accurate flight model for an analog F-16. That's where our country is flying with. Yes, you need the required instruments, the actual flight scenarios, and we had this program evaluated by pilots who had the actual deep stall training, actual on F-16s in Edwards Air Force Base. Okay, so next slide, please. And this guy is going to do the training for the deep stall we've developed for the fast jets, for our fast jet, the F-16. Okay, first we let him some familiarization in the aircraft, and you can see the movements of the Desdemona. Okay, then we ask him to enter the deep stall, so we fly them into the performance. Okay, so you see the aircraft falling out of the air. He loses his lift, so he's falling down. And actually, the pilot has to continue now to enter this situation. Okay, and you can see how rough the movements are upside in the simulator. Yes, he goes to, and he really has to work now on this training to get out of this situation. Yes, he has to stop the yaw. He has to do the pitch rocking to make a good recovery. And he has to work now. He's on his head down. He has to take his time. He has to wait the 10 seconds. And this guy didn't put his belts tight enough, causing him problems. Okay, he doesn't wait long enough to keep his aircraft alive to build up speed, so that's why he's getting trouble twice. It's really, really rough to be inside the simulator at this moment. 15,000 now is going to make the final recovery. Okay, he waited, yes, and he recovers. Okay, what's nice to illustrate for you is that those guys are doing this training every year on a fixed base simulator. You can stop them. Okay, they do this training every year on a fixed base simulator because we think it's very important. Because at 40,000 feet and having a rough turn, you can enter this situation. Okay, and these guys all succeed at training on the fixed base simulator. And then we put them in Desdemona, and then we see they don't wait 10 seconds. And then we see they don't take the time because hanging upside down, finding all the things you need is very difficult. It's much more difficult than being in a fixed base simulator like this. Okay, so for us, we think it's a very, very good training. Okay, so we develop for other types of aircraft also this advanced training. We're working now on the helicopter training. And of course you can understand that one of the most crucial things in helicopter flying is the landing phase and the lateral drift in the landing phase. And I think you can have the next slide. Yes, you can start this one. Okay. This is just a demonstration of side drift. Okay. They're asking me, are you going left or are you going right? Okay, I don't see anything. My vision is the outside vision. It's inside clouds. Like I'm in the brownout, I don't have any outside view. Okay, and I notice that I'm moving. I can feel it. There's a little turbulence. I feel that I'm moving. And she asked me, which way are you moving now? And that's the funny part, because my interpretation of my movement is totally wrong. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going right now. Absolutely, I'm convinced about that. But what's happening? The turns in the end of the situation give me the false sensation. So now I think I'm going left and I'm actually going right. So if I show this to a helicopter pilot who accepts in final phase of landing that he loses his outside vision and he has no information about lateral drift, he's going to end dead for sure. So that's a really convincing demonstration for our helicopter pilots, because they wouldn't believe this and they have all the same experience. So, next slide please. Okay, and last but not least, we are working on a project. The Supra project is a European Union project, and that's a project that is looking for our big transport aircrafts. Yes, what kind of additional training should we provide those guys? Yes, to keep their behavior, to keep their performance in unusual attitude or strange situations up to the good flying skills. And we have seen the Air France problems above the Atlantics, okay, and there's a lot of discussion of what the pilots should and what they shouldn't. But the flying skills of those pilots will very often degrading because they don't have many stick time anymore. Okay, so this is a European Union project, and we are working on that to find out if we have to do some more than the conventional simulator training. And we have a lot of problems to face because how should a simulator move? Because conventional simulators have a very small envelope with all the normal flight situations. But if you go outside the normal flight envelope, yes, you must know what the aircraft is going to do. So that's quite a research, and that's why the European Union funded this research. And we are looking for this research and working with our pilots on this research to find out what we have to do for that category. Yes, do we have to do additional training or not? That's the question. Okay, next slide, please. This is just research that the loss of control in flight is still a big contributor to fatalities. Next slide, please. Okay, the things we have to face with this Supra research is the limited envelope of aerodynamic models for the normal simulators. And if you look for the Air France or for accident investigations, that most of the movements of the aircraft are outside the normal envelope. So even with our Class D simulators, we can't solve that problem. We can't train that problem. Next, just tap on it. It's more information. Okay, tap on the slide, please. Yes, the very limited motion capabilities we have with the normal hexapod simulators. And of course, I won't say everyone has to go to Desdemona. There are also countries who are saying we're going to fly in small aircraft. But I think we all agree we have to do some more as we're doing now. Tap on the slide, please. Okay, so we're looking for technology breakouts, and we're trying to find a way to give the people more training as we do now. Next slide, please. And of course, and I think this is quite standard, is we have a refresher course according to the Stanag, and every 5 years we have our disorientation lessons and for all the aircrew. Next slide, please. Okay, I hope I gave you information about what we're doing in the Netherlands. We're working on it, we're not finished yet, and you're free to ask if there's some time.
Okay, let's get the clickers out and get the question back. Okay, so does your country provide your aircrew with sufficient training? Or are you coming to the Netherlands with your crew? Okay, let's see what the results are. Okay, that's a small change.